It has gotten to the point where it's not about if Raw's good, bad, decent. It was okay last night, right? We try to convince ourselves and others that it was a decent show. We try to pick out some of the good points. Because we truly want to believe it's getting better, man. We truly want to believe it's a good show. It's not about good, bad, decent, okay. Now it's about trying to stay awake. And I know it's been that way for a while, but literally it's gotten to the point where the care is sucked out of us. It has gotten to the point where we are fighting to stay awake. And that's a problem, because I'm not a senior citizen with an 8 o'clock bedtime. Right? The street lights are on, but I don't need to run home because mommy's gonna yell at me. When you watch a television show like Breaking Bad or The Sopranos, The Walking Dead, Ozark, Grey's Anatomy, I don't care what it is, but you watch, you tune in, and you're on the edge of your seat because you love the characters, the storylines, the plots, the cliffhangers. You need to tune in next week to see what happens to those characters and in those storylines. With Raw, you ain't watching for none of that. You hope to have it, but there's none of it. So you don't really know what you're watching. It's a train wreck from start to finish. And every now and again, you get something where you go, that was decent. And again, a lot of fans want to tell themselves it's a good show because a couple of times during the show you said it was decent. So now a couple of decent things make a good show. But again, it's not even the fans' fault for saying that. They truly want to believe it is. They're trying to convince themselves that there's a reason to tune in next week when there truly isn't. There's no real storyline in WWE we need to tune into next week. Nothing. There's some things that are not bad. Could be epic if done correctly. The Legend Killer storyline with Randy Orton could be done epically if the amount of time and care was put into it, just like the Bray Wyatt and Braun Strowman deal with The Fiend eventually getting the championship back. But the way WWE goes about business, they take something that could be epic and they always turn it into something that is sleep-inducing. I find myself fighting to stay awake. It got to the point where I used to just double fist these two boys back here. The small one is always my vanilla latte. I get the tall. And the bigger one, because that container keeps its product warmer for longer, that's my hazelnut latte. So I have my vanilla. When that's done, I have my hazelnut to fall back on. I used to always double fist during my pro wrestling WWE shows because I needed 2 fucking coffees to get through the damn show. But it's gotten to the point now where every time there's about to be a WWE show, I have to head into Costco and buy myself a case. A case! 15 Starbucks mocha frappuccinos right here. Right here! Why do I have to get a case of coffee? Why do I have to get a case of coffee to make it through a show? I have thousands of people depending on my review. I have to make sure that I'm up for it. I have to make sure that I am dissecting this thing like nobody else in this community, better than everybody in this community. That is something that I bestowed upon myself when I started this channel. Either I'm the best or I ain't doing it. So you're damn right. I'm going to be alert. I'm going to be awake. I'm going to be ready to rock and be amped. And if it means a case of coffee in the process, then so be it. But the fact that I have to pull in to get a case of Starbucks is an issue. Double fisting it isn't even working anymore. I'm slumped over in a fucking chair like I'm a senior citizen with an 8 o'clock bedtime. That's what it's come to. And what are we building for 3 hours? What are we building to? A big show main event. Beasley, it was decent, man. It was decent. He got his head kicked in, Beasley. Yes, and I knew that was going to happen for weeks now. I knew that was the end result. I hope you have a little bit something more planned. Oh no, that was it. Beasley, it was a good show. Mustafa Ali came back, Beasley. Mustafa Ali. Why do I get... Who cares? Mustafa Ali is your fucking hero. That's great. What do you think this is going to do for the company? It's another good wrestler. The company is filled with good wrestlers. The old man doesn't know what to do with them. When Mustafa Ali was out, did something happen to Ricochet that I didn't know about? Did something happen to Cedric? Did something happen to Austin Theory? Did something happen to Aleister Black? Did something happen to Buddy Murphy? Nothing happened for any of them when Ali was gone. Now that Ali is back to cloud the roster even more with good wrestlers, what do you think's going to happen? Exactly what you saw last night. McMahon likes to clump everybody together into their stereotypes. Oh, he's a short little cruiserweight. Put him with Cedric and Ricochet. Right? And then you put him over with fucking Apollo. That's what he does. All the cruiserweights will be lumped together into a little cruiserweight faction, and then he'll put him with somebody slightly above cruiserweight status, like Apollo. So that's why you're going to see Mustafa with Ricochet and Cedric and all the little short dudes that can do flips and dives. Same thing, same reason he puts Shelton Benjamin last night with Bobby Lashley and MVP. He's black, and so is Bobby Lashley and MVP, and Shelton's black. Let's put them all together. Garza. Second he gets to the roster, he's linked up with in a feud with Humberto, and then he's linked up in a tag team with Andrade. Why? Well, Humberto, he's got the Latino background, and Andrade, Latino, and Garza's Latino, and Zelina Vega. Put them together. Right? I mean, that's Vince's MO. That's what he does. He'll clump you up in whatever group or stereotype that you belong to, in his mind. We see it time and time again. Kairi Sane hits the roster. Where's Kairi Sane immediately? Oh, Japanese talent? Put her with Asuka. She's also Japanese. That's what he does. Whatever you are, be prepared to work with your fellow peeps. There's not going to be any creativity. There's not going to be any originality. You're just going to work with your peeps. According to Vince McMahon, anyway, because that's how he sees you. So Mustafa's back and everyone's throwing a parade. What the fuck does that? Does nothing for me. I have a good wrestler with an okay personality, a little bit more charisma than most cruiserweights, actually. So that's a good thing in Mustafa. But I don't know what people are expecting. What do you want from this guy? You want him to win a World Heavyweight Championship? Do you want him to win a mid-card championship? If they're not booked properly and people don't care about them, the championship is not going to do shit for the dude. We just saw that with Shinsuke Nakamura. He just held a mid-card championship and you would have never known it, right? I had to remind you of that because it was a lackluster title reign. Because Vince McMahon made sure that especially the casual fan didn't give a shit about Nakamura because his booking was so tragic. So by the time he won a championship, nobody cared. Finn Balor, same thing. Finn Balor's an awesome talent, just like Nakamura. When he had that mid-card championship, I believe it was the IC championship, it was irrelevant because he was irrelevant because his booking was that bad. Nobody cared about him. If nobody cares about you and then you win a championship, it makes zero sense. It's not going to affect or move the pendulum one bit. It's not going to do anything for the championship. It ain't going to do anything for you. So you can have Mustafa Ali conquer a championship, conquer a division. If he's not booked properly, it doesn't matter. If he's not oozing that personality and charisma and not captivating people, then it doesn't matter. It's going to take more than the flips and the dives. We've seen that with Austin Theory. We've seen that with Cedric. We've seen that with Ricochet. Look at Ricochet's promo last night. My God, that didn't put me to sleep at least, but it made me cringe. Ricochet went through promo school down in NXT at the PC. Ricochet has been on the main roster for over a year at least now. Going on 2, correct? And Ricochet still cannot cut a captivating promo. It's cringeworthy. So everyone's throwing a parade about Mustafa. My question is, now what? What do you do with Mustafa that they didn't do with Buddy Murphy? That they didn't do with Ricochet or Cedric or Aleister? You have all these dudes, a lot of great wrestlers on the roster, and you guys just want more and more. And then you complain when they're not getting time, or they're off TV, or they don't have a proper time management in their match. Everything is a complaint, but what did you expect? You want more, more, more. We have to stop. We have to close the door, and we have to focus on who we have in the roster now and get them to the next level. More, more, more doesn't work. Quality over quantity. Remember that. Thrilled. Mustafa's back. Great. We get to see some more flips and dives, 20-minute fucking what? Oh, no, what? Vince will never give him 20 minutes. Some more flips and dives, 7-minute matches. But why are we gonna care? Well, basically, he's a great wrestler. Yeah, I know. I just said a million times. The roster's filled with great wrestlers. The local bingo hall down the street is filled with great wrestlers. Why are we caring about Mustafa more than Alistair, more than Buddy Murphy, more than Ricochet, more than all those dudes, more than your Drew Gulaks? Why are we caring about him more? I'm not seeing anything. Is he Ultimate Warrior status? Is he Macho Man status? Is he Steve Austin status? Hulk Hogan? Is he The Rock, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, AJ Styles status? I'm not seeing that. Stephanie McMahon comes back last night. Listen, finally some semblance of something making sense, some believability to what we're watching. The inmates were running the asylum. The inmates were literally running the asylum, coming out and making their own matches, getting championship matches on the spot. Nothing. You thought it sucked with authority figures. It went downhill even more when the inmates started running the asylum. And everybody likes to cling on the balls of Paul Heyman. Paul Heyman said once in an interview, I'll never forget this, he said, I don't like setups to matches. It takes too much time and it's unnecessary. Paul Heyman said, if we want to set something up, let's just do it. So he was a big fan of wrestlers just coming out and calling their own shots. And it's bullshit. It makes zero sense. And it takes away from the actual build. It takes away from me caring about a match. So, for anyone clinging on Paul Heyman's balls and saying he should have never been fired and this and that, guess what? I love Paul Heyman. Okay, for everything he has done for this business. And I know the creative mind that he is. But he got that one wrong. And that tremendously hurt the product. Letting wrestlers call their own shots. It makes zero sense that somebody can come down the aisle and literally call a championship match when they don't even deserve it. So Steph comes back, and now we have authority. Authority figures are needed. They've been needed, and they've been a big part, a staple mate of the show since the beginning of time, or since I started watching pro wrestling for WWE. Jack Tunney in the 80s, Gorilla Monsoon in the 90s, Vince McMahon, Shane, and Stephanie and Triple H from 2000 on. Authority figures have always been a staple mate, and they're a way to progress storylines, progress characters, and progress the plot. And make shit believable. An actual authority figure made this happen. It still may not make sense half the time. We still might not like the idea of whatever that authority figure is saying, but at least it's the authority figure. It's like a boss at work or a principal at school, right? We all have somebody we need to answer to. So at least it makes sense, and we never like that person we need to answer to, so it makes sense in real life. But I'm tired of seeing things like Dolph Ziggler coming down, asking for a championship match, or demanding one, and he gets a championship match. Just like that. What the fuck? That's it, man. That's all I can fucking remember from Raw last night. Stephanie McMahon and fucking Mustafa Ali both returning. Get one of these bad boys. One down, 15 to go, right? That's all I can remember, but we're going to go over everything together, right? You think we're fucking done getting amplified? Oh, no. No. We're just getting started, because I remember Stephanie McMahon and everybody having a parade for Mustafa Ali, but there was 2 hours and 40 minutes of other show that happened last night that was putting me to fucking sleep, and now we're going to be fully amplified, because I'm going to down another one of these mofos. And when we're fully amplified, when we come back in about 15 seconds, I assure you, the rest of that 2 hours and 40 minutes is getting amplified. First, we gotta get amplified. Now! Alright, so Raw kicks off with Seth Rollins cutting a promo on what he did to Rey Mysterio at Extreme Rules. And what's next for Seth Rollins? But Aleister Black hits the ramp, he takes out Buddy Murphy, and he hits the ring for Rollins. Rollins hightails it, and we head to our first commercial. That was the first 15 minutes. Rollins going on and on, cutting a decent promo. We know what it's going to lead to because the match was already advertised earlier in the day. Aleister and Rollins. So, rather than relive that atrocious finish from Extreme Rules, which we're all going to try to forget about, the match between Rey Mysterio and Rollins at Extreme Rules was fantastic. Awesome. Okay, maybe not awesome, but it was really good. And then the finish kind of tainted a lot of shit. So, let's just forget about that. No, let's go on for 10 minutes about that finish. And then we set up Aleister Black coming down, and we know nothing that happens in this matchup is going to make Aleister Black look good. You just hope he's not flat on his back looking up at the lights taking a pin, right? And the only thing worse would be submitting. But this is one of those scenarios where you have to have some type of schmozzery because I understand you're trying to pump up Rollins, but you can't totally deflate Aleister Black any more than you already have. So the first 15 minutes is just Rollins running his mouth and Black comes down to the ring. That's it. When we come back from our first commercial, we have Rollins versus Black. This one was just over 10 minutes in length. Rather lackluster considering the two dudes that were in the middle of that ring. You'd expect more from Black and Rollins together, but what do you expect when it's 10 minutes in length? You got no real crowd. You're put on basically a few hours notice that you're going to be competing. I don't know, man. They could do much better if it was built to a pretty badass pay-per-view. We've seen them plenty of times in the past as well working together. Obviously, Aleister Black has had his nose in Rey Mysterio and Seth Rollins' business for the past 2 months. It's just weird. That's how you're using Aleister Black? A henchman for Rey Mysterio? So anyway, the match itself could have been better for me because of who is in the middle of that ring and knowing what these two can do. But when it was said and done, Rollins stomps and pins Aleister Black rather easily towards the end of this thing. I couldn't believe they went with that finish. Stomp, Black's knocked out. 1, 2, 3 Rollins, man. Aleister Black, you saw him in NXT and you're like, fuck, man, if, I know this is a crazy concept, but if Vince utilized him correctly on the main roster, this guy, man, you're talking somebody who could be one of those characters. Not necessarily a character to the heights of The Undertaker or even The Fiend Bray Wyatt, but somebody in the conversation. And here we are just months after his main roster debut, and this dude is... I mean, how much lower can you go? You guys know I don't like saying the word buried. I think pro wrestling fans try to sound too smart sometimes, and they say everybody's buried after a loss or two, right? Matt Riddle, he just got to the roster. He's already got a victory over AJ Styles. Last week he lost against AJ Styles, and everybody's claiming Matt Riddle's buried. Relax, pump the brakes on that. I don't like to use the word buried, but I gotta say, as of now, Aleister Black, thanks to Vince McMahon, is a dud on the main roster. And again, that's no fault of Aleister Black. We know what he's capable of. He's got one of the best finishers I've ever seen in pro wrestling, and it's simplistic as fuck. It's just that blackout. Or that black mass, I should say. Sorry. Not the blackout. We're going to AEW. But that black mass, it's simplistic. He's kicking your dome piece off. But it's so badass. So you take the character, you take his finisher, and you add it into the fact that he's an awesome wrestler. You almost got the full package. Obviously, promos, a little bit more work when he needs to be amplified, but when he's doing that kind of low-key, low-mannered, like he used to do in the black room, and he was saying, knock on my door, pick a fight with me. That's when Aleister Black shines in his promos. That more methodical type promo. And so, I mean, if you take that type of promo and you see that's his character, just like The Undertaker, he never really got amplified until he was American Badass Undertaker. When he was Undertaker, it was just the Rest in Peace promos. So basically, Aleister Black is your total package, or could be. Sorry to go on a side rant there, guys, but it's frustrating because Black's one of those dudes that he was like... I don't know, man. It's just one of those dudes that could have been something so much more. And I just saw him. And not to say that Rollins can't beat him, by the way. BC, just like Styles beat Riddle. That's believable. What's the problem? It's not that. It's just Aleister Black should not be losing in 10 minutes, flat on his back from one stomp. This is a guy who, his whole character is based around, I knock you out. You pick a fight with me, I finish it. That's his character. And we've seen him do nothing but be irrelevant and be a henchman for Rey Mysterio for months. And now that that's finally done between Mysterio and Rollins, now we just have Aleister Black looking up at the lights. And then after the match, post-match, Aleister Black receives more of a beating than he did in the match. Seth Rollins goes back because he looks at Murphy and they're like, oh, that was pretty easy actually. Let's go back for more. They go back and they kick the shit out of him. They beat him up. They destroy his arm. Strong booking for Rollins, no doubt. He got the victory via the stomp. Again, just over 10 minutes. So, and then post-match, he's beating the hell out of him too. So this is strong booking for Rollins. But it is safe to say Aleister Black is a complete dud on the main roster. And again, it's not his fault. That's old Vinnie Mac. It's the old man in Stamford, Connecticut. So they're building up Seth Rollins and they tore down Aleister Black. And I say all the time, you shouldn't not bring somebody up, raise somebody up by tearing somebody else down. So that was actually frustrating for me because I didn't even get a great match out of him either. I didn't even get a really good match out of Aleister Black and Seth Rollins last night. I just saw a dude who should be receiving a lot more just get beat 1, 2, 3. And that's what I mean. Mustafa's back. Yay. What do you think's going to happen to him? Or even if you raise the prominence, other people like Black are being stuffed down now. No, I'm sorry, not sorry. If it's Aleister Black or Mustafa Ali, Aleister Black all day, every day. You know what I mean? Unreal. Backstage, MVP and Bobby Lashley set up R-Truth, and Shelton Benjamin becomes the new 24/7 title holder because MVP invited R-Truth to come join them in the middle of the ring. And Truth is like, nah, I'm all set. And MVP's like, oh no, perhaps you didn't understand me. I said the 24/7 champion, not you. And then Shelton Benjamin comes up from behind and takes out Truth. Shelton Benjamin becomes the new champ. What do you mean you forgot that happened last night? What was going to be a tag match with Ricochet and Cedric versus Bobby Lashley and MVP ended up being a 6-man tag because Mustafa Ali returned to Raw. This match took us out of hour number 1 and into hour number 2. It was the opposite of Sasha and Asuka from Extreme Rules because this entire match was pretty boring. Then the last 90 seconds was fun as fuck. Whereas at Extreme Rules, Sasha and Asuka was good the entire match, and then the last quarter of the match happened, the last 4 minutes, and that was tragic. This one, I felt this match was pretty boring, and then the last 90 seconds really kicked up. Obviously, Ali picks up the W here because he just returned. You gotta give him some steam, right? And he wins with a 450 splash, I believe, and that was on MVP. So, good for Ali, but this is going to go one or two ways. Within the next couple of weeks, he'll be right back into just jobber status quo status with Cedric and Ricochet, or they're really going to strap a rocket to him. Listen, I'm for it if you're going to go all the way with Ali. Strap the rocket, and let's see what the kid truly has. Promos, character-wise, character development. Can he carry a storyline? All of that. Hey, I'm willing to see. The problem is now you're going to stuff more talent down. And for a guy like Ali, sorry not sorry, to me, that's not a larger-than-life character. You know, that's why I say Aleister Black maybe had the potential to be such. But, you know, I don't know, man. Everybody throws a parade every time somebody like Ali shows up. And they're not looking at the bigger picture. And I'm asking a question. Now, what does this mean? Nobody wants to answer. Oh, basically, it doesn't matter what it means. He's a great wrestler. He deserves. This is no lie. When Ali first got to the fucking roster, after like a month, people were talking about him winning championship, like the heavyweight championship. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? Calm down. Do you guys know who Mansoor is? When they go to Saudi Arabia, there's a dude, Mansoor, that always competes. I believe he's NXT right now, actually. Or when this Wabaka goes away and they start training again.
But there's a guy, Mansoor, and after people saw him the first time in Saudi Arabia, there was honestly, this was on social media, people were talking about him winning championship. Mansoor's good. I'm glad the world is starting to know who he is. He deserves championships sooner rather than later. What the fuck? No, Mansoor shouldn't get a championship for years. And that's when he first debuts on Raw or SmackDown. And then Mansoor can spend years really owning that craft on the main roster, earning those stripes. I'm sick of everybody. The new flavor of the month comes in and we all start talking about championships and how they're doing done dirty. They're buried. They deserve, that's another word, right? They deserve the world. That's one of the things that irritates me. It's not even Ali. It's not even Ali. I have no issue with Ali, man. Again, I see this going one or two ways. He's either going to be a jobber or you strap the rocket to him. But it's one or the other. There's no in-between, or else it's going to be boring as fuck. We've already seen in-betweeners, right? We see it with Ricochet and Cedric and so many others. It has nothing to do with Ali. It's what happens now. And nobody wants to even think of that question. But if they did, they go, oh, BC, you're right, man. This is a clouded roster. And Vince doesn't know what to do with half the roster, let alone the entire roster. Vince doesn't even know what to do with a quarter of the roster. He doesn't know what to do with 5 of his wrestlers. Now you have a roster of over 50, 60? You're throwing parades. I'm asking, what do we do with them? Put him in a storyline, Bayley. Okay, well, that's going to take up an extra 15. That's a segment, right? So who are you taking out? And then you say he deserves a champion. Well, then who doesn't now then? That's what I mean. You have to take someone out of the contention now. There's only so many fucking titles. You're going to create new titles? That's it. That's all I got to say about it, man. It's frustrating. And again, nothing against Ali, right? BC, man, why so hard on Ali? Because it's not, literally, if you listen to my words, it actually has nothing to do with Ali. It's the bigger presentation of the problem as a whole. Ali is just the latest superstar to return, get a parade thrown for them, and everybody will be bitching and complaining in a few weeks about his booking, and we're going to repeat the cycle. It's a vicious cycle with every one of these superstars. People have been clamoring, begging for Ali to come back. And I'm asking for what? What do you want to see out of him? That we should be seeing from so many others, and we're not. Think this guy's going to come and save the day? Is he bringing asses to the arenas or to the fucking, or when this Wabaka goes away, is he going to bring more fucking viewers? Is Ali really going to fucking captivate the world because he can do a 450 splash? Nobody else in the community will be honest with you. I'm going to pose these questions. I'm not going to sit there like a good little fan and be like, oh, Liz back. I can't hold my excitement. No, it's not my job on this review show. Not on this channel, man. We pose the real fucking issues. Are we into hour number 2, guys? I think we are, right? Are we into hour number 2? Yeah, I think that match took us out of hour number 1 and it's hour number 2. Yeah, so up next, Ruby Riott. Again, now we're into hour number 2. Ruby Riott finally ends her singles losing streak when she pinned Peyton Royce from the Iconics. We had my girl Bianca Belair on for a few seconds last night. Nothing worth mentioning to most, but because I'm really high on Bianca Belair, you don't even go here. I love Bianca, brah. Love Bianca. She was in a backstage segment last night to set up Ruby Riott and Peyton Royce. She's just a star. She's a legit superstar. There's no other way around it. And as her confidence continues to grow, because I saw her in NXT when her confidence wasn't exactly full throttle. Not even there. Her confidence wasn't even close to full throttle, and she wasn't where she needed to be yet, and she was already in a championship match with Shayna Baszler at a takeover, and she carried her own weight. So that's how I knew she was going to be a star. She wasn't even there yet to be in a championship match with Shayna Baszler, and she fucking delivered. Now I see how far she's come in such a short time. A year later. I couldn't be more proud of her, man. So I just had to send a shout out to Bianca Belair. I fucking love that. So she set up Ruby Riott and Peyton Royce. As I said, Ruby Riott actually defeated Peyton with her, what did they call that? The Ruby Roundhouse? Whatever it is. She kicked Peyton Royce's dome piece off. And Peyton Royce sold that beautifully, by the way. Peyton Royce looked good in here, man. Peyton Royce, I got major props to Peyton. She looked confident in there, and she looked good in there. Her offense was on, man. She just... Go back and watch the way she hit the ropes, the top of the rope, man. I've seen I've seen male superstars not look comfortable climbing the ropes. Peyton just went right up and she just dove. There was a confidence in Peyton that you don't usually see when she's attached to Billie Kay. And her offense was just there. I liked it, man. Man, Peyton Royce, and I'm a fan of the Iconics anyway. But there really is no bias here. I literally saw a lot of good from Peyton Royce last night. But it was really good to see Ruby Riott pick up a fucking victory. She literally has not won a singles victory since she returned for months. Even before that, her win-loss record was atrocious to the highest degree. So to see Ruby Riott, I mean, you look at Ruby's face after she won, and even though it was just against Peyton Royce, Ruby was like, I did it. I can win a match. So I do like that, man. But I also have to give major props to Peyton Royce. Of course, a lot of people in the community won't, because the cool thing to do is just shit on the Iconics. I know. But if you're being honest with yourself, if you saw that match, man, and you say Peyton Royce didn't carry her own weight, Peyton Royce didn't look decent in there at least decent, I say good. But if you're not giving her any credit, then yeah, check yourself, man. You're only fooling yourself, nobody else. Hour number 2 ends because hour number 2 is filled with a lot of video packages and filler type shit. So hour number 2 ends with the Street Profits defeating Andrade and Garza. I was legit falling asleep during this one. I can't be any more legit and truthful with you guys. I literally wanted to just doze off during this tag match. It did nothing for me. I had no care for it because I don't care where it goes forward. I don't care what happens next with the Street Profits, and I don't care what happens next with Garza and Andrade. And you got some good wrestlers in the middle of that ring in this tag match. But if I don't care, then it's bullshit to me. I'd have a greater time napping, sleeping, than watching this match. But I was fighting dozing off because I know I got this review to dish to you guys, and I need to dissect this the best way possible. So I stayed awake, man. I was hitting my coffees up, trust me. And I stayed awake somehow. I mean, one of the miracles on Earth for all of time will forever be how the Amplified Man stays awake during Monday Night Raw. That's going to be one of the greatest mysteries. When all is said and done, hundreds of years from now, one of the greatest mysteries in our world will forever be how the Amplified Man stays awake during Monday Night Raw. Because I do during these type of bullshit segments and matches. I just wanted something to wake me up, man, at that point. Interest me, make me care. This tag match was not it. But again, the Street Profits defeated Andrade and Garza. Why not? Because Andrade and Garza are great wrestlers. And we see what happens to great wrestlers. Nothing. Look at Cedric and fucking Ricochet. That's gonna be Ali in a few weeks. Probably next week. He'll already be eating L's. Hour number 2, oh no, that was hour number 2 ending. Street Profits, yes, okay, woo, wow, at this point, we cannot wait, man. What are we looking forward to? Big Show and Randy Orton in the main event, yeah, baby. Party! Hour number 3 begins with Sasha Banks and Bayley celebrating Sasha's sham title win from Extreme Rules. Asuka and Kairi Sane hit the ring, but Stephanie McMahon appears on the Tron. Finally, an authority figure. Whether you want to hear these words or not, they need to be said. We have to have an authority figure. It helps move storylines along, it helps character progression, and it helps at least make some sense of what the fuck is going on in that company. From Jack Tunney in the 80s to Gorilla Monsoon in the 90s to Vince McMahon, Triple H, Stephanie, and Shane McMahon from 2000 on. Authority figures are essential to a pro wrestling show. Otherwise, the inmates are legit just running the asylum. And you can't have that because it creates even less care than we already had into it. Authority figures move shit along. You wouldn't show up to work and have no management at all. Even if the owner's not there, you have a manager or at least something called a supervisor. You wouldn't just show up as an employee. Well, I guess there's some, right? Maybe like a phone, maybe like a T-Mobile or something, right? Maybe an associate can just show up because there's only one person working, I believe, at places like that. Sometimes there's only, I don't know, I'm overanalyzing that too much. But the point is, you have somebody you have to answer to. The company, for the past year plus, has been answering to nobody. And I understand, because the fans have chased everybody away. Shane McMahon was on TV too much. Get him off TV. Stephanie McMahon's too annoying. Get her off TV. And so they chase them off, and then fucking we have nobody. And then Paul Heyman comes in, and he's like, we don't even need people setting up matches. We're just going to make them on the spot. That ended up making even less sense. Good job, Paul. Oh, right? You got to fucking... The one thing that Vince McMahon listens to Paul Heyman on, and it's that. That aggravates the shit out of me, because Vince McMahon listens to nobody. But somehow Heyman convinced him, let's just have the wrestlers come out and call their own matches. What the fuck? Dolph's coming out getting championship matches. Even the Iconics, who I'm a fan of. The Iconics are coming down demanding championship matches, and it's happening. It's a farce. Titles became even less prestigious than they already were. Wrestlers are just coming out. They're showing up to the arena, and they're just like, you know what? Tonight I'm going to give myself a title match. And there's no authority figure to do shit. And then I say it helps set up storylines because it does. Like, they were in a position where they had to have somebody like Stephanie show up on the Tron. How the hell are you going to justify what happened Sunday night and have Sasha walk off with the title? You have to have somebody show up and go, nah, this is what's going to happen because I'm running the show. Nobody was running the show. And you wonder, when nobody's running the show and the inmates are running the asylum, you wonder why the train is so far off the track you can't put it back on. You wonder why. I wasn't wondering. I saw this thing slowly going off the track from the beginning, and then I saw it fucking just derail. Steph declares a championship rematch next week on Raw between Asuka and Sasha. And nobody can interfere. I believe it's like even the title can change hands even if there's a DQ or something like that. There's some stipulations in there. But we're going to get the rematch, Sasha and Asuka. And this makes zero sense, even though, and that's what I mean, even though you have an authority figure back, and even though they're, demanding what's going to happen, which again is needed, it doesn't mean we're always going to agree with it or it's even going to make sense. But at least we know it came from a boss. We know it came from authority. It came from a source. And people aren't just making their own fucking minds up when they don't run shit. But this is one of those situations. This still doesn't make sense. We're going to find out who the real champion is next week. That's what Stephanie said. So nobody's really the champ right now. How does that make sense? Even if it's a no contest from Sunday night, the belt would stay with Asuka. You see what I'm saying? I know, BC, you're making too much sense here, man. You're overanalyzing. No, I'm really just using some basic common sense and basic logic. No matter what happens, if Sasha does not truly defeat Asuka, then the title would remain with Asuka. That's the rule since the beginning of time. I wish Jack Tunney was here, the president of WWE from the 80s. He would tell you that. He was a man who judged everything by the book. But I don't see how Asuka loses her championship or is not the rightful owner of that title right now because Sasha never actually beat her. So even that doesn't make sense. Asuka should be champion right now. And then they just have a rematch. No, we're going to find out who the real champion is. The real champion is Asuka. So that's what I mean about I'm going to call it down the middle. Just because we have an authority figure doesn't mean I'm going to fucking agree with everything they say. It's just nice to have that back. I don't think we're going to see Stephanie too much, so don't worry. Oh no, Stephanie's back. No, trust me, this was probably a one and done because they knew they were backed into a corner. They were in a pickle. They had to have some type of authority figure make some sense of this. End up still not making fucking sense, but again, at least we know somebody is overseeing the ship. It's kind of hilarious but sad at the same time. The numbers are going down, the ratings are going down, the company is so far off track, and you literally don't even see an authority figure on TV. It's like nobody is running the company. So finally to see a McMahon on the air, it's like, all right, somebody knows that there's a show on here. Back from commercial, we have Bayley versus Kairi Sane. I enjoyed this match. There's been heavy word that Kairi Sane is literally leaving WWE any day now. Some reports say that Raw This past Raw was her last contractual date. There are some reports saying that was it for Kairi. So we don't know if Vince offered her maybe a little bit of an extension before she moves to Japan. We know she just got married. She wants to move back to Japan. We know that's a fact. We just don't know what date that is. So far, we've heard that it was a few weeks ago, and McMahon just kind of prolonged it. So last night could have been the last time you see Kairi, or she could have a few more dates. But word is, if it wasn't last night, it's any day now. Kairi's done. So that's sad for so many reasons when I think about how she could have been booked and how she actually was booked. And just what a talent she is, and how awesome of a person she is. It's no secret, or maybe, I don't talk too much about this, but many of you guys know I have a very good friend who's a PT for WWE, works right out of the Performance Center, very good friend of mine. And I don't think I'm not disclosing too much. Yeah, this isn't really too much. Yeah, I have to be careful what I say because out of respect for this gentleman. But he says that whenever Kairi Sane comes in, even if it's just for the kinesio tape is that tape that you see on like wrestlers' shoulders or their arms. Even when they come in just to get taped up, there is nobody. This person told me this straight out, and there's a lot of good people in that company that come in to get treatment. But he has told me time and time again, there is nobody nicer when they come in than Kairi Sane. Nobody nicer, he says. And it just makes me think, like, really? Like you see that, but it's so cool that he would go out of his way to say, like, yeah, like out of everybody I see, this guy treats so many superstars. Even when you don't have an injury, they come in for tape or they get things checked out. This dude will see easily 30 to 35, 40 people in any day, whether it's NXT talent, trainees, or actual WWE performers. And Kairi Sane is the only one that this dude went out of his way to say, she's the nicest person you'll ever meet. She is always so courteous and kind and meek and humble. And it's just like, man, that's to go along with the talent that she has. When you have that type of talent, you could be a little stuck up. You could be a little prissy. You could have your bad day and portray that onto others. No, not Kairi, man. So, this dude told me that multiple times. That's why I kind of bring that up in the story. So, anyway, so it's real sad to hear that she's leaving, but we thought for sure she was eating a loss to Bayley because she was leaving. But it was Kairi Sane that defeated Bayley last night. Kairi Sane defeated the SmackDown Women's Champion. Now, this had a couple of my pet peeves back to back. A champion loses a random match, which I can't stand. When a champion is flat on their back, you're a champion. You have to make yourself and that championship prestigious. And when you're just losing nonsensical televised matches, it does neither for both of you or the championship. So I hate when champions lose in a match that's not for the title anyway. Non-title matches and the champions loses. I can't stand that. And my other pet peeve right back to back was that this finish was decided by a roll-up. And you guys know how much I can't stand the roll-up because it's overly done. The roll-up used to be used when you wanted to protect somebody. Like, oh, they didn't get hit with a finisher. They just got caught out of nowhere and they couldn't get out of this pack. Now everybody is being defeated by a roll-up. I say this as a joke time and time again. You take 19 tombstones, you take 72 super kicks, you take 14 Batista bombs, 32 pedigrees, and when it's all said and done, it's the roll-up that you can't get out of. So a couple of my pet peeves. The champion loses flat on her back, and then you have a roll-up victory. But you know what? Because it was Kairi, and that might be the last time, not even these dates, that date, last night, might be her last date for WWE. Because it's Kairi, because this is the end of the road for her, I let the bullshit slide. I didn't even care about my pet peeves. For that moment in time, I was happy for that girl. I really was, because I hear the stories of my people that are in that company, working for the company. I hear the stories, and man, I'm so proud of her. You know what I mean? Like, if that's the way she goes out, winning, that's the way she should go out, because she is a winner. So, if that is the end for Kairi, thank you so much, man. Not one of your matches ever went unnoticed or was taken for granted. We love you, we always do, and we hope to have you back in the States sometime in the near future. You are an incredible talent. Nobody drops a flying elbow like you since Macho Man Randy Savage. Nobody. And you're going to be sorely missed. And if McMahon does keep her for a few more dates somehow, maybe they're going to ride out another month or two, awesome. You know, have her keep winning. I don't give a fuck. I mean, I hate the word deserves, but if anybody deserves victories, it's Kairi Sane. She's that fucking good. So she defeats Bayley, and I have zero issue with that at all. Dolph Ziggler and Drew McIntyre are face-to-face, middle of the ring next. Dolph begs for another title shot, and Drew accepts and says that he's going to do what Dolph did to him. There's going to be a stipulation. This time, McIntyre decides, and McIntyre is going to do the same thing Dolph did. He's not going to tell him until right before the match. Do my idea for Extreme Rules. Have Dolph upside down, hanging down, and start whacking him like a fucking piñata. Oh, whack a Dolph match. You know, you can't lose there, man. Dolph is a human piñata. But now we get another Dolph and McIntyre match. We've seen these two 114 times in the past. Why not 115 times? And then you see what I'm saying, right? There's no life to these shows. BC, what are you talking about, man? You're not having fun? This isn't interesting? You're not entertained? Are you? I'm asking you, are you? What are you entertained by? Another Dolph and Drew match going to do it for you? You're going to call your friends? You're going to be at the edge of your seat? You're going to be captivated by Drew and Dolph again? I'm just asking. Main event was unsanctioned. Ooh, yeah, I saw an unsanctioned match last night. I saw a fucking table spot and a couple of chair shots. What was unsanctioned last night? I'm asking. Not trying to be an ass, I'm asking. Because I know there's always a dipshit going on. Basically, Raw was good last night. Relax. It was advertised for 3 fucking hours. For a whole week now, we're going to get an unsanctioned match. I saw a table break and a couple of chair shots to Big Show's back. What was unsanctioned? Me going in to order my coffee at Starbucks is more unsanctioned, especially when they don't put vanilla in my coffee. That's unsanctioned. Randy Orton, Big Show. For a brief moment, Viking Raiders and Garza and Andrade were involved. Garza and Andrade came down, they held the Big Show, the Viking Raiders came down, and they started punching one another, and we went to commercial. When we came back, they were all probably eating fucking the Big Slam, the Big To-Do meal at Denny's. The Grand Slam at Friendly's restaurant breakfast. Right? They're all fucking... Nothing makes zero... When in doubt, when I get flustered, just drink more coffee. I don't even know. What was it for? Just to try to get us to commercial. To keep people interested. Vince McMahon brought down Garza and Andrade and then the Viking Raiders, literally for like 10 seconds. And when we come back from commercial, it was like they were never there. They're literally just eating at the fucking local Waffle House. All happy as fuck. We were used tonight. Vince had us on for 15 seconds. I wonder if my mom and dad saw me. And they start texting, fucking seeing if anybody tweeted them. Hey, we saw you on TV tonight. Oh, man. It's like a fucking background extra actor, right? You see these big productions in Hollywood or here in New York City. You see all the people in the background. And then they start calling up their family and friends. Did you see me? I was in the background of Law and Order tonight. I was in the background. I was the guy holding the coffee in the newspaper. I was going into the store. Viking Raiders, Garza, and Andrade. They were basically background in a fucking movie production. Anyway, moving on. That was the only that was the only entertaining thing because it actually made me laugh. I don't know if, but that's the Viking Raiders booking though, right? It's just to make you laugh. For 3 months, we saw them bowling and golfing and playing Frisbee and Red Rover send one of the Street Profits over, some Monopoly, Battleship, you name it. They were playing all the games, video games. Maybe they'll come over and they'll play some birthday games for you. You want a birthday party? Call up the Viking Raiders. They provide great enjoyment. They'll fulfill your laughter needs. In the end of this Orton Big Show match, there was an RKO to the Big Show and a win for Orton. That's literally my notes, by the way. There's nothing else that happened. Big Show, like, cannonballed into a table. There was a couple of chair shots, and that's the unsanctioned nature. Other than that, there was an RKO, and that was it. The best part of the match was Big Show got DDT. You know when Orton usually brings somebody through the ropes? Their legs are on the ropes, and then he DDTs them. Big Show was on the top rope because he's such a big dude. So his legs were on the top rope, and he got planted. I thought the dude was literally not getting up from that. So that was the most badass thing that happened in the match. Other than that, RKO, Big Show's down and out. Randy Orton picks up the win. Post-match, Randy Orton knocks Big Show's block off with the punt kick. Something that we knew for a month now this is what it was leading to. And Randy Orton celebrates on the top rope, and we go off the air. None of it was captivating, A, and B, more tragic, nothing that happened in the whole show, but let's just stick to that final segment. Nothing made you need to tune in next week. Nothing. Nothing made you go, oh shit, I can't wait till next week. We gotta find out what happens. No, there's no cliffhangers anymore on this show because that takes thought. Ric Flair wasn't a part of the show last night. Unfortunately, his wife has contracted the Wabaka that's been going around. She tested pos. Well, we wish Ric Flair's wife and Ric Flair and his entire family nothing but the best. Flair, from what we are hearing, didn't test pos, but obviously same thing with Mox and Renee. When Renee tested pos for this Wabaka, Jon Moxley also had to stay home, but we heard Moxley never tested pos for it. But he has to be quarantined. Same thing with Ric Flair. Whether he tested pos or not, that's his wife. He was around her. He's got to be quarantined. And that's huge. And that's why there was a rewrite right before Raw went on the air. Because they knew they had to get Ric Flair off. And they knew a little bit in advance, don't get me wrong. But when they did the initial rewrite, they were like, wait, this doesn't make any sense. So they did another one, and they came up with that finish. I think there was supposed to be a little bit more to it. Ric Flair was supposed to have a bigger role. But the couple of rewrites, this is what we ended up getting, and it was not exciting at all. I don't know how much more excitement Ric Flair would have brought into it, but at least it's another level, an added layer. But Ric Flair couldn't be there because he's quarantined. So we really hope Ric Flair doesn't have it, and whether he does or not, we wish him nothing but the best. But that's a huge component because he set this thing up, man. He was a big part of this Big Show, Randy Orton last month and a half feud. And you knew he was going to have a big part. So when they found out that he wasn't going to be an issue and they had to rewrite it, I'm kind of not surprised that they couldn't get it right. And right down to the final hour, we heard it was being rewritten. And this is what they came up with. But I'm not going to throw them a mulligan just because they had to do rewrites. Flair's not there. Get uber creative. You didn't. But that's a big, big void to fill. Ric Flair was a big part of that Big Show Randy Orton storyline. And when it finally comes to the day they're going to come to blows, and then you find out Ric Flair can't be there, that's huge. Because that affects that story, that affects that match. So I know it could have been a little better with Ric Flair added in as another layer, another side of the spectrum, but he wasn't there, and they failed to deliver. Unsanctioned my ass. Again, me ordering a coffee when it isn't right, that's unsanctioned. The shit that goes down when I don't get the coffee that I ordered, that's unsanctioned. And then we have Just Us, guys. That's Raw. Raw went off the air, and again, what are we remembering? Stephanie McMahon showed up on the Tron, man. Ali came back, man, right? Remember that? Great. Let's talk about this in a few weeks. Let's talk about it next week. Before you get excited, think about shit, guys. Think about what this means for superstars like Ali. Think about what this means for superstars like Aleister Black and shit going forward. Storylines and the company as a whole. More. And the more superstars that come from NXT, the roster gets more and more crowded. And then you have all of this awesome talent and nothing to do with them. And even if you do have, say Vince McMahon wakes up one day and he finds that spark again. He's all of a sudden the creative genius we once knew him to be. And he starts booking people an awesome storyline. How many spots do you think you can have? The roster is filled with so many awesome talents. How many storylines can you give these dudes that people are really going to take the time and invest into? Nobody cares. More. Yeah, Ali. And now everybody, I can't wait till Karrion Kross gets to the main roster. I can't wait till Adam Cole, baby, gets to the main roster. And then people go, no, they should stay in NXT, man. Don't even bother coming to the main roster. And then when they stay too long, I don't know how they didn't get called up. We need to shut the door. The door needs to be shut. We need to get a good 30 to 40 superstars, male and female, and we need to concentrate on them. That's it right now. Don't worry about bringing more and more people in. We need to concentrate on that. It's a huge concern. Anyway, damn, man. That's your Monday Night Raw review. Much love to all you guys. I hope to do an AEW NXT review. I know the ratings still aren't quite there. The interest is not there for AEW and NXT. It's not there for all of pro wrestling. So when you get to AEW and NXT, I mean, they're nowhere near 1 million viewers. But I still might do a review for them. So be on the lookout, guys. And obviously the podcast and SmackDown's review and reaction later in the night. Obviously, I have plenty of coffee. That's just one case. I have plenty of cases of coffee. And I'm always getting, a good 6 or 7 throughout the day. So we're going to be fully amped whenever I need to hit out, even if it's an impromptu vid to you guys. We're going to be fully amped and ready to go. So always check back on the channel. You should be subscribed and notified anyway. And until next time. Think, be, live, amped. Check you later.